Welcome back to the Football Terrace. It's Wednesday. It's Straight Facts. Sav and I are here for the next hour or so. Make sure like buttons are hit. Make sure you're subscribing to the Terrace as well. How are you, mate? You well? You good?
I'm good. I'm good. I was just complaining to you about how pale I am, but other than that, I'm I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
I have that problem, to be honest with you. My chair feels lower than normal, and I don't know why.
First world problems going on over there at Football Terrace.
Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe it's the camera. Maybe the camera's higher than normal. Maybe it's not. There we go. That's a bit better. Anyway, there we go. I feel better. I was looking at it again. I look shorter than normal today, but I hear you, mate. First world problems everywhere.
Yeah,
lots to talk about on the show today. Obviously, we're looking ahead of Man United's big game that kicks off in a couple of hours against Galatasaray in Turkey. We're going to talk about Newcastle's penalty situation from last night. Of course, we're getting Sav's opinions on Tottenham's weekend and what's to come for them against Manchester City, and some big transfer rumours to talk about as well. With the transfer window opening in just 4 weeks, clubs have started their due diligence and started their work ahead of the January window. But I did want to start with last night, actually. And I wanted to get your opinion on what in my view was an absolute disastrous VAR decision to give that penalty against Newcastle United.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on it personally?
Yeah, these aren't handballs, are they? These aren't, we're seeing this every week. I think we've become a sport that has gone away from actually what is a handball. Like the rule of handball is now no longer a thing. The rule of handball is now, can we slow down a video to show that it hit someone's arm? And was their arm in this position, that position? I just feel like common sense should say, you look at yesterday, you see it's hit his arm, hit his chest, hit his arm. It's not a penalty. He didn't deliberately stop anything. He didn't mean to do it. Back in the day, this used to be, play on, get on. And again, we've had this conversation loads of times, Terry. What we're getting is more controversy than we've ever had. Referees, assistants, VAR people being stood down after games because of their human error. I just feel like this is a slippery slope, and then obviously I think we'll probably talk a bit later about the things they said they were going to add in yesterday for rules and for VAR, and you just go, like, what's happening, man? What's happening?
It's funny. A lot of people have kind of reached out to me after I said last night they were robbed. They've kind of gone down the line of, well, it doesn't matter if it deflects, it can still be handball. That's within the protocols of UEFA.
Yeah.
Paraphrasing slightly, and I get that. However, when you watch that in real time, you have to look at proximity, and he's right next to, I want to say it was Mbappe. It might not have been. I can't remember who the attacker was now. And it hits his chest first. And yes, it hits his arm. But his arm is in a completely natural position because he's running. And as it hits his chest, his arm is out in front of him. You can't run without your arms moving in that direction. So then if the ball then deflects off your stomach or your chest onto that arm, and the whole scenario is within close proximity, to not give it is horrendous. And when you also look at two other incidents in that game, first of all, there was a handball shout for another penalty maybe 15 minutes before, where it hits, the arm isn't out as wide, but the player's standing still. So the crazy thing is your arm being where Livramento's was for the penalty is more natural than where the Newcastle defender's arm was for the handball not given, because he was standing still. There was also a handball, though, in the first half, which has been completely brushed aside. And I don't think it's handball, but you see, I think he said Socrates. What's his name? Skriniar. Skriniar fell when. So I don't know why Socrates.
Love that. Yeah.
I'm just looking at it now, and in fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to send it to you in the private chat, so you can see it. And I'm also going to share it. I'm going to share it in the live link for the viewers if they want to click on to Twitter. And see it, and you see him fall over, turn around, not know where the ball is, but he puts his arm on the ball. And if Livramento's is handball, then so is this. And this should have been a red card because it denied a clear goal scoring opportunity, but it wasn't given. And that's my argument. People have shown me reasons as to why it could be a pen, and I'm like, okay, in a vacuum, that makes sense. But then when you compare it to the 2 other handballs in the game not given, I cannot decipher nor understand the difference. And so far, nobody's been able to explain to me the clarity and the difference between the 3 incidents and why 2 were waved away and checked very quickly and the other one was given. It, for me, is an absolute robbery.
Can I be honest? I don't think any of them are handballs. Like none of them are handballs.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
You know, like I've just watched the clip you sent there. Look, these are the interesting ones. When the defenders, I mean, I say defenders, could be anyone. When a player falls down and he's behind the play and the ball hits his arm, and you're like, well, hang on, I can't see. I didn't see it. I've not intentionally moved my arm to it. These have never been penalties in the history of football. These have never been penalties. The problem is we're getting to the point now where this isn't about one football club. This isn't, oh, poor Newcastle or poor Spurs or poor Arsenal, poor whoever. This is every single team are getting these awful decisions. I've said it before. I've said it again. I just don't like VAR. I just don't like it. Things like this should be play on. No, there was no intentional handball there. Play on. We're giving handballs for everything, and I just don't understand the like anyone who tells me they got the rules down now. Like, no one knows what the rule is. No one knows if a hand hits a ball, if the ball hits the hand now, whether or not the refs are going to give it, whether they're not. What the interpretation is. Just get rid of it, man.
I agree. And do you know what? VAR, like VAR and the rule are 2 separate conversations here. I understand when people say that, Terry, in UEFA, a ball can deflect off of a defender or a defending player, hit his arm and be a penalty. I understand it.
Yeah.
That isn't the argument. Yeah. Again, that is so basic. What I want to understand is how that arm, but that's only if the arm is in an unnatural position, making his body bigger. His arm is in a natural position for somebody running.
Right. Yeah.
So, it becomes null and void as far as I'm concerned, because you can't run. If we're telling defenders now you have to run with your hands by your side, the greatest defenders in the world are no longer going to be able to make tackles. Because if you can't run, but there's one thing defending with your arms behind your back, and it's doable to a degree. You can't run with your arms by your side.
But the thing is, Terry, if you go and watch any proper coaching session on defending and the art of closing down crosses and square, not being square on for your man, but being side on, all of these actions that have ever been taught within coaching revolve around your arms being out to a degree, because that's the natural position for the body. Nobody defends with their arm behind their back. No one should have to. And what you're seeing now is you're seeing top class defenders that are more, their first thought isn't, can I defend? Their first thought is, I don't want to give away a penalty. So they put their arms behind their back and you're now off balance. It's another one of these rules that these rules that are coming in are crazy. I'm seeing rules, sin bins, and it's like, what are we doing? Like,
I'm not actually against sin bins.
No, come on, man. This isn't American sport.
No, I'm not against. Do you know what? Look, I'll be honest with you. On the sin bins, I've always felt, and I don't know, I haven't read what they're going to give them for. I saw it on my feed and I just brushed over it. I wasn't in the mood. But I've always wanted something for cynical fouls for counterattacks. And I'll tell you what I mean by this is a yellow card is not enough, because you cannot get that advantage of a 3 versus 2 counterattack back again from a free kick, even if a player's booked. I feel like you need to be given some sort of numerical advantage for a small period of time. And the reason that I support it is I actually think you'd get very few sin bins for, and I'd only ever give them for cynical pull downs on counterattacks. You would stop doing it because then teams would suffer for the next 10 minutes and be in a worse position. You're probably better off letting a counterattack happen. And the only reason I've ever felt that, and I haven't really said it for 10 years because my team's been crap, is that it used to happen to Man United a lot when we were good. We'd be counterattacking, someone would pull us down, and they should sit there and think, but the yellow card is worth it.
I hear you. But the problem is, Terry, you're opening up, not you, we're opening up another can of worms. Let's assume, okay, let's say now the sin bin is in place, right? Now, every time there's a foul, it's going to be, should it have been a red? Should it have been a sin bin? Should it have been a yellow?
No, so I agree. So I agree with you, which is I totally agree with you, which is why, for me, I don't believe in like orange card. It was just literally, if you bring a man down or bringing down cynically on a counter attack. That was the only reason that I would ever give it. But at the same time, in practicality, as you say, knowing the way we govern things in football, it would fall apart. It works.
But what was wrong with football, Terry? Like, why all of these new rules that are coming in aren't helping? Like,
listen.
What was
with
wrong with football
question.
before? Why do we need to change to be like other sports that are slower than football?
It's not changing to be like other sports per se. So we've always changed rules. Yellow cards never used to exist. It was just reds. Pass backs used to exist. As an example, goalkeepers, it wasn't in the rules where they could wear gloves, and then they changed it. So we've brought in a number of things over the years that I think have benefited football, or at the very least haven't killed it. I think the idea behind what people try to do. So I've done shows in the past where we've sat around, and if you could change one rule, like one of the other rules I'd change in football, now this is all kind of pie in the sky, it's not even practical, is again, when my team was a good attacking side, I hated people sitting behind the ball. So I sort of was like, I'd create a rule where you can't have more than 8 men in your own half. But you can't. But in reality, it'd be too hard.
What was wrong with football? Like all of these rules that are coming in, right, are slowing down. Look, listen. Football for me has always been a very quick sport compared to most others. It hasn't been this stop-start sport that we're seeing now. Now what we're doing is football is becoming like rugby, like American football, like baseball. And what I mean by that is I don't mean similar in terms of what the sport is, but it's the constant stopping play, breaking for 2-3 minutes while we check out this, do that. It's football used to be 90 minutes, free flowing. Now there is more controversy than ever, right? Refs used to make mistakes. I don't think you're going to get that. You're never going to eradicate that from any sport, from any way of life. You're always going to have mistakes. Has VAR helped clear that up in any way, shape, or form?
So
same thing with sin bins. It's going to create more controversy.
So how I would answer that is this. I agree. And when I threw out like no more than 8 players in your own half, that was very much in reaction to being annoyed that we dropped points to a team.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I feel when VAR first came in, if you go back and watch content from back then and even look at tweets, I every time VAR made the right decision, so a goal was disallowed that should have stood, or a goal was given that should have been disallowed, I would tweet and say VAR saving football. And the reason I said that is because for years I was frustrated at the mistakes being made, not the human error per se, but the fact that we have the technology, because cricket and tennis and other sports had it, where we could have stopped teams being knocked out of tournaments. We could have stopped teams from losing games. We could have stopped players being sent off when they shouldn't have been. And I felt when it first came in, it made mistakes because everybody does, but I felt it kind of did that. And I remember this game against Newcastle that Man United played. And I always seem to remember Man United a bit more than anybody else because that's the club I support. And it looked like a Newcastle player won a tackle on Rashford at the edge of the box. And Rashford laid down holding his shin. And when you saw the replay, you saw that there was zero contact on the ball. And the guy, he studs up and went right into Rashford's shin. And we got a penalty. I thought, see, that's amazing. There was the handball, the header that's going in, and Neil Mopé handballs it. Then the final whistle goes. That would have been controversy 101. Man United fans would have been, hang on a minute, we didn't get a penalty. It wasn't spotted. We should have had a penalty to win the game. But VAR enabled us to have that penalty and win. I felt like we'd improved the game. Goal line technology. I've seen goals against Man United and for Man United where balls gone over the line, not given. England. What has happened? It's not the changing of the rules per se. It's the incompetence of the people running it. And I'll give you an example. When you get 3 handballs like last night, and you get 2 different decisions when they're all very similar, and there's no explanation, there's frustration. I've felt in the last year to 18 months that they're using the tool now in a way to create more drama as opposed to trying to give the right results. And what they've done in conjunction, and I'm starting to believe this to be true, is I believe that they are, and I want to say this in the right way, they're even convoluting and murkying the rules so you can just say subjectivity. Because offside used to be simple. Handball used to be simple. Now you're actually in situations where an attacking player can accidentally handle the ball in the box, but as long as he doesn't score a goal and he passes it to somebody who scores, it will be given. But if you accidentally
doesn't this highlight what I said then? Doesn't this highlight what I said? All of these rules aren't making football better. The only rule I think that has made football better, the only thing they've implemented, right, is goal line technology. The goal line technology is superb.
So,
right?
So
it's an absolute.
I totally agree. The reason, the point I'm making is, I agree with you. I'm just going around the houses in terms of why I think they've done it. And the reason I think they're convoluting these rules, the reason why I think they're murky in the water, it reminds me of the FCA when I used to work in finance. All their regulations against banks and building societies and insurance companies, in my personal opinion, were so vague and so subjective. Whenever they wanted money, they could just go and find someone and go, well, you've interpreted it wrong, because it wasn't clear cut. Yeah. And we've kind of done that with the game. And you see the media defending it. You see the referees defending it. And it's funny, really, because the British media is coming out today and defending Arsenal. But they're doing it because it's not their competition. They're doing it because it's not our referees. And they're saying, oh, this is wrong. This is terrible. Where was this energy 2 weeks ago when they're calling Mikel Arteta and Jurgen Klopp dangerous? They're bringing the game into disrepute. How they're threatening the safety of referees all around the country because they're calling out. The same media outlets today are slamming UEFA for that decision. Even the inconsistency in how and who they criticize in this country is crazy. And I've been saying it for weeks now. It's all about creating additional drama, which this is where I agree with you 100%. Football doesn't need it. Football in itself is more dramatic, more nail-biting, and has scripts that you can't write. It has a better script than Oppenheimer. It has a better script than The Sixth Sense. It's more entertaining than any Beyonce concert, any Foo Fighters concert, any Drake concert. It is so unpredictable. You don't need all this nonsense that they're doing. And I agree with you. I think it's actually taking so much away from the game, in my opinion. I think it's horrendous.
Yeah, look, I've said it for ages. I've never changed my stance on it. It's not needed. I always, the thing we always hear is it's not the VAR, it's the people operating it. But clearly the people operating it can't seem to get it right to get rid of it. I just think it's slowed everything down. I mean, the other day, which game was I watching where it took 5.5 minutes to get a decision right? And they looked at the video, this angle, that angle, that angle, that angle, that angle. And even after they'd done all I can't remember what it was. Even after all the angles they looked at, there was still everyone going, oh, that was right, that was wrong. It's not conclusive. It's still human error. It's still human opinion. If we've got human opinion, just let the refs have the game. Just let the refs have. I don't ever remember a time where there was as much controversy as this. I remember controversial moments, Terry. We all remember the big controversial moments in games, but now it's every week is dominated. Last night's games now are dominated with VAR, right?
Well, look at Man United in the Champions League against Copenhagen. The red card against Rashford, which should never be one. The next night in the Europa League, which is a different competition, but the same authority and same rules. Endo for Liverpool does the identical thing, and I don't even believe he was booked. VAR didn't, it might have been booked, but VAR didn't overturn it. And you look at both incidents in real time and in slow-mo, and I can't, there's differences to them, but those differences are not significant enough for there to be that big a difference in a card. And that not only helped cost Man United that game, we're without, I mean, he has been in great form, but we're without another player for today's game. And we've seen so much of it, and it's so frustrating. I don't mind. My thought is this. If you're going to give those easy handball penalties, fine, but you've got to give them every time. And it's not about, the rules are never an issue for me, really, as long as they are issued out consistently. And I cannot understand the lack of consistency. The subjectivity argument for me is an absolute nonsense. It makes zero sense. Other than when you've got tribalistic glasses on. That's the only reason you will see it differently, because we're not stupid. But look, viewers, I'd love to know what you all think, what you all feel. We've got some super chats here. It says the sin bins are for dissent. Bruno, watch out. Well, again, if sin bins are just for one thing and it's only for dissent, again, I'm not... I say try it and see what it does. The problem that you may have with football is that typically it makes teams sit back and defend and be hard to break down. Where it works well in rugby, you can't sit back and defend that way. You have to, it gives you a numerical advantage, which 9 times out of 10 teams capitalize on and score tries or get more. You know, the amount of points teams get when they play against a team with the sin bin is always higher typically than when they don't have one. When you play against, I would love to see the stats of playing V10 men versus 11 men and the difference in goals, but yeah, look, we'll see. They're going to trial it. I don't mind them trialing new things, but we'll see if that works. Happy Terry today before his team gets knocked out. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I'm not confident. This here says Sava oversensitivity from refs started when football players became huge assets for both club and leagues themselves. No, I mean, it also says here, Sav, oversensitive and officiating of football started before VAR. VAR was supposed to be the remedy for pointing out mistakes, but VAR turned into a magnifying glass. You are right, and it should have been there to fix things, but I think they've got to scale back. I think they've got to go for, yeah, they've got goal line technology, bring in semi-automated offsides, and look for violent conduct. So, but even with violent conduct, Fulham versus Wolves the other night, Vinicius literally headbutts a player and doesn't get sent off. And do you know what they said to Gary Neville after the game? They said, "Yeah, but it was only a soft headbutt."
Yeah, I know. I think I truly believe that at some point, I don't know if it'll be soon or a year or 2 years. At some point, somebody's got to come in and have a complete overhaul of the rules of football. We've just made it so clinical that it's becoming ridiculous. We shouldn't. But incidents like last night, like with the Newcastle penalty, right? Sorry, the PSG penalty. Incidents like that, they should be the anomaly, not the norm. The problem is every weekend now, it doesn't matter which game you watch, it is overshadowed by VAR.
Right. You're right. And on top of that, Sav, you have this situation of some of this is on us as fans and the media though as well. And I say that because, and I justify it with sendings off. So for years, this is a TV dramatic reality show style view. Don't send him off even though he deserves it, because you ruin the spectacle. I've never been a fan. I've always felt that attitude would hurt football in the long run. And you'll probably find that they look at these things, and this is how I think they referee it or think about it, even if it's a subconscious feeling. Oh, look, I can't really send this Burnley player off against Man United because United will probably win now, so we'll let him get away with it. Could we send off this Arsenal player against Luton? That might even the game up and make it more entertaining. We'll get it done. There's almost like they think about, should I follow the rules or not? And then they think about the spectacle. And I've always said to people, again, it's a slippery slope. You start doing that, then what happens is you create inconsistency in decisions. What's happening on top of that now is they're being defended for these inconsistencies. And I feel like it's spiraling out of control. And I think more mistakes are happening because they feel so under pressure. But look, viewers, let us know what you think. Let us know what you feel. The mainstream media attacking UEFA's VAR, but not PGMOL. Yeah, it's absolutely ludicrous. This here from Kenny says VAR has highlighted exactly how crap referees are. Before adding new things, how about fixing the crap we already have? That's so true. That's probably the best thing I've seen. Comment
absolutely.
On that.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think both those last two comments are really interesting points. Yeah, fix what you've got, and if it's not broken, don't fix it. It wasn't really broken, and we're trying to fix it. The comment before where it says highlighting how crap refs are, we've got to remember everything is a knock-on effect. Referees now aren't held to the same standards as before because they know everything's going to get overturned. Before, I don't ever remember this much controversy. But look, maybe I'm old school. I just want to see football go back to what it was. I don't like the let's sit around for 3 to 5 minutes and check a goal 15, 20, 30 times. It's not for me. But hey, each to their own.
I respect that. In terms of tonight, Man United face hell, as they call it, going to Galatasaray.
Yeah.
How do you see that game going? They're in good league form, Galatasaray. Man United I know we've won 5 of our last 6 games. We've had some good moments in the Champions League, but we keep losing. Yeah. Do you think Man United can keep themselves in the Champions League with a win tonight, or do you think it's going to be good night at Vienna?
Look, it's a tough one because Man United, you seem very good at the moment in terms of you're beating all the teams you should beat, right? You're beating the Lutons, you're beating the Fulhams, you're beating the Evertons, and that's fair enough. And you're doing what you need to do to get the wins. In Europe, I've seen you've not looked convincing from what I've seen. You do look disjointed, but Galatasaray, I've watched 2 or 3, I would say. I've watched 3 of their games this season in the Champions League. What I've seen from Galatasaray is they always start quickly. They always start like a house on fire, especially at home, where they rip teams apart, create loads of chances, but they don't tend to put teams away.
Mm.
Now, I watched them do this against Bayern Munich, where they were much the better team than Bayern Munich for an hour, maybe 70 minutes. But Bayern Munich, in the end, put them away because Galatasaray hadn't finished all their chances. They play some good football. They play very fluidly. I think that you can easily get a Galatasaray at the back. Man, you need to roll back the years tonight. Man, you need to roll back the years for me and put in a proper performance, not a bitty performance. I think they need to put in a proper performance and start coming to the party, because Galatasaray are no mugs, and this game could run away from Man U in the first 20 minutes if they don't approach it properly. So, going to be interesting, going to be a good watch. Am I right in saying if you lose, you're out completely? Is that right?
Yeah, we are out. We are out if we lose tonight. We have to win the game.
You can't
draw.
Yes,
no,
sorry, I should have had a look at this. Sorry.
No, I think we're out. We have to win. We have to win.
So have to win.
So
because... to Bayern. Well, so you got Copenhagen, right? Yeah, okay. So you got Galatasaray. So if they beat you, then you're down to 3 points and they're on and 7. Yeah.
So we're done. We have to win, and then we're probably going to need to beat Bayern Munich at home on the final day, which in some respects, listen, beating Bayern Munich's a hard thing to do, but in some respects, beating Bayern Munich at home when they may rotate because they're already through, potentially you could argue there's elements of that could be easier than beating Galatasaray away from home, which we've never ever done before. But to stay in the competition, we've got to win our next 2 games. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. But on top of that, I want to see a response tonight from these players. We got it in moments against Everton, and I think Galatasaray are a better team than Everton, but we got it in moments. And this is tonight. We need players to be clinical when they get chances. We need them to stand up, and we need them to take responsibility. That's the thing that's stand out here for me. Man United have got to take responsibility. We can't be cowards, and we have to essentially say, look, we have to win. It's knockout football for Man United now, so the game becomes very exciting. Am I confident we can do it? The answer is simply no. And that's, again, people always call me out for being a pessimistic Man United fan. The problem that I have is that even though we were very good against Copenhagen in the last game, how we lost 4-3, I don't know. We were very good for large parts against Galatasaray until it fell apart right at the end. And we even had really good moments against Bayern Munich as well. But that's my fear. I think we can be good in stages tonight. But do we have the minerals? Do we have the stomach? Do we have the belief in ourselves to get through the adverse moments that are going to happen in this football match? I don't know. So there is talk, by the way, that the game might not be going ahead because there could be a waterlogged pitch, which I haven't really been on Twitter today. I actually took the morning off today because I had so much to later on, but okay. I don't know where this is. Again, I haven't actually seen that news personally. I'm having a little look here on pitch inspectors taking place at Rams Park. Local officials saying game can go ahead for now, but it's 3 hours to kick off, and the rain doesn't look like stopping anytime soon. So right now it's good enough to play on, but the rain isn't stopping. Again, I don't know what the quality of their drainage is like. You don't really get that in the Premier League because it's so good now, but we'll see. I think it will go ahead. It's not even 3 hours to kick off. It's 2 hours to kick off.
Thing is, you could almost go through. If you win tonight, you could go through even by losing your last game. Because if I'm right, so if you beat Galatasaray tonight and you go on 6 points, right? And then Bayern beat Copenhagen, say, right? So you're on 6, Gala are on 4, and Copenhagen are on 4.
Yep.
That means you're playing Bayern in the last game, right?
Yeah, we could lose and they could draw and we'd go through. Yeah. You're right.
So it is possible. Look, I guess the question.
Can you imagine going through on 6 points?
I know, it's mad.
Man United have gone out before with 10, 11 points. Imagine going through with 6. It'd be crazy.
Yeah, it is. But it is possible. Look, the players have to stand up and be counted. This is not Man U. This is any players at this stage when you've got a chance. You've got 2 games left. You know your last game is Bayern Munich. You've got to stand up and be counted. So, listen, I think it should be an interesting game. Let's see what they're made of. Let's see who's got it within them to say, yeah, I'm playing for Man United. I'm just going to stand up and be counted. Let's see.
No, I understand, mate. I totally get it. And I want, listen, the pitch is going to be horrendous as they say, but that's going to be the same for both teams. And we've got to go out there, stand up. A win there, though, and this is the thing from a positive standpoint. A win away. No Man United team has ever won away at Galatasaray. Fergie's done it a few times, struggled. It's always been a horrible place for us to go. We beat Everton at the weekend, win this game. Then suddenly you go into that Newcastle game, maybe with more belief. Maybe you go into that Newcastle game going, hang on, that's another ground that we haven't had great luck on in recent years. But suddenly you have a little bit more belief, you have a little bit more hope, and things can turn around. And it's games like tonight where we have to stand up and make ourselves be counted. We have to try and use it as a springboard to improve. But this is where, when I look up this team under this manager, my biggest issue is not the overarching ability of these players. It's the way they're performing for this manager and the overall togetherness of this team in bad moments. When things are good, look, if we score a couple of early goals, look, we would have absolutely slapped Copenhagen if Rashford hadn't been sent off. We were 2-0 up. They were doing nothing to us. The red card happened. Our asses went. The bottle went. And that's what happens all the time to Man United. So and if we go 2-3, if we went 2-0 up and then nothing bad happened, we'll win. I've got no qualm with that. But we go 2-0 up and then concede a goal on the say that's 50th minute, we'll lose because the nerves come in and the players can't handle it. There's a disconnect. And I don't think it's just the player. I think it's the overall group. There isn't confidence that they as a group can do it. And that's my issue. That this says it perfectly. The mentality is fragile. It's very, very fragile indeed.
Well, the thing is, I think it's because every time you've played anyone decent this year, you've not got the result you wanted. If I'm right, I don't think you... I'm trying to remember the games you played.
No, you are right.
I think that's where it comes from. But you're right. Football changes very, very quickly. I said to you the other month, 3 games in football is huge. 3 games in football. You imagine you win tonight, you get that confidence, and you don't lose to Newcastle away. All of a sudden, you're like, hang on, we've been to Galatasaray, we've been to Newcastle. The players' confidence starts getting up a bit more. Confidence, and then you see something different. But it also has the effect the other way, where lose to Galatasaray, lose to Newcastle, and all of a sudden confidence is on the floor and rock bottom. So huge 2 games for you guys. Huge 2 games because you've been winning games, as I said. Your form's good, but it is against the lesser teams. And now you've got to find a way to you've got to find a way to build and grow against the better teams. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the game.
No, I'm excited about it. It's going to be a spectacle. And there's a Gunner Soul here. Says, Terry, we are seeing these mistakes because we have VAR. These mistakes, corruptions, incompetencies was happening since years. Arsenal fans kept saying this for years, and handball rules in UEFA are different. That was a handball. So what I would say is this. Arsenal fans were calling it a conspiracy against Arsenal, which I think people rejected. People didn't reject the idea that refereeing was poor. I understand that the rules are different in UEFA, and that can be but there still isn't a handball. His arm was in a natural running position. The close proximity should have been taken into consideration. And there was 2 similar handballs that weren't given. And I don't know. That's why I can't agree that it was a handball. But I know obviously Arsenal fans and Newcastle fans got a bit of beef at the minute. So I do get it. Let us know, viewers.
What it's creating, though, isn't it? It is creating tit for tat. It's we didn't get that. Glad they didn't get that. None of these for me are fouls. Hardly any of these for me are fouls, handballs, penalties. Have you seen the penalty stats from the last 3 or 4 years since VAR properly came in compared to the years before? It is mad. The penalties are just going through the roof, mate. Like they're going through the roof. It's madness.
No, I hear you. The tit for tat thing is something for years. I just said to people, don't do it. Don't get involved. Help football. Tribalism is so strong that it's almost impossible. But viewers, let us know what your score predictions are for tonight's game. Let us know in the live comment section. And if you haven't hit the like button yet, please get that done. 3 in a row. 3 in a row. And you're and potentially 4 in a row when you face Manchester City this Saturday or Sunday. I think you play Man City. How do you see things? What did you make of Spurs' performance on Saturday? First of all,
look, I thought we started brilliantly. I think let's be really, really honest. For everyone that watched it, I think most people would have watched it being the kind of 2 o'clock kickoff on a Sunday. I thought we were excellent. First 30 minutes, we were absolutely excellent. We played some lovely football. I think most people would have said we played great football. I think we pressed brilliantly. Villa didn't really know what hit them, to be honest. Villa couldn't cope with our press. They couldn't cope with our energy. We didn't take our chances, which is a recurring theme this year. We're not taking chances. But the problem that you've got with this, if you're going to play this style of football, you're going to burn out. And what we're starting to see from Spurs in most games, Terry, is you get to about 50 minutes, 55 minutes, 60 minutes, and the press goes because the legs have gone, the energy's gone, and it's all sapped out of the players. And what I started to notice is early on in the second half, whereas in the first half, we were pressing that midfield free of Newcastle, of Villa so much that they couldn't find Digne. They couldn't find Cash. They couldn't find Diaby and Watkins. In the second half, our energy goes. The press isn't as much, and it gave Tielemans, Kamara, Tielemans, Kamara, John McGinn, all of these players, Douglas Luiz, 2 or 3 more seconds on the ball to look up, get the ball, and then start finding Leon Bailey, who came on and made a difference, start finding Luca Digne, Watkins. And I think once that happened, they started to create chance after chance after chance. And it's an issue because there's some really good football being played, but it's not conducive for 90 minutes. And teams are now seeing that. So I look at it really, really good, mixed in with some disappointment. People say we should have been 3 or 4-0 up, but I think Villa had some really good chances in the first 5 minutes as well. They missed a blunt header. Someone else missed it from 10 yards away. And, a game of 2 halves. Very good first half. Very, very good first half. Second half ran out of steam, and it seems to be the thing. And that's why I've said I think that Postecoglou's style of play is great, but the in-game tweaks that I think need to happen. Otherwise, I think it borders on being naive, and I think teams will get at us easily. Well, I say will. They are, Terry. They are getting at us easily. So we can talk all we want about, did we deserve a point? Did we deserve 3? At the end of the day, we're running out of energy. Teams are beating us. You deserve what you get. If you don't finish your dinner, you deserve what you get. So hard to take, but Villa won it fair and square, and we move on to Man City away. So, yeah.
What you said there about in-game, that was my biggest take. I think sometimes when people speak of style of play, they make it all-encompassing. Style of play isn't necessarily your formation. It certainly isn't your in-game management. And I thought what he got wrong was the million miles an hour first 45 minutes you played. I think your team died in the second half. I think their legs went. There wasn't the quality to bring on to maintain how you started. And that's something which I think he's got to get right. How do you see it going against Manchester City?
Look, first of all, you're right. Just quickly prior to the Man City thing, first of all, you're right. If you are going to play this style of play, which is all out gung-ho, pressing, you've got to have 4 or 5 top players to bring on that can continue to do that when the legs run out, and we haven't got that. Man City, listen, I've made no bones about it. I said even before our injuries and suspensions, Terry, I was expecting Man City to batter us. Spurs are trying to learn a new style of play. This has only been implemented for 13 games. It's not like we're the masters at it. It's not like we've had years of practice at it. Some players are better than others at it. And we're finding that now. And unfortunately, lots of the players that are now coming into the team due to injuries they weren't good enough anyway, let alone good enough to play this type of one-touch pressing football.
Yeah.
So, look, I think it's going to be a long day at the office. I think what's going to happen is I think we will probably start quite well. We tend to. I think we'll probably start quite well. I think we'll grab a few chances. We'll have a bit of the football. Then I think when the game settles down, City will have a lot of the ball and they'll punish us because our defence just isn't good enough and our legs will go. So I'm not expecting anything from it. I'll say the same thing to you that I said before the Wolves and the Villa game. I said this to both. I don't know if you remember this. I said, if we get anything I said I'd bite your hand off for a draw against Wolves.
Yeah.
Was called negative. Bite your hand off for a point against Villa was called negative. If we get anything against Man City, it's the best result of the season for us, without a doubt.
Yeah.
We saw last night, City can have a terrible 45 minutes, right? They can have a terrible 45 minutes, and then second half, they just switch it on. They grab 3 goals. So I am worried. I'm very worried. But for me, it's a free hit. For me, this game is a free hit.
Free hit. No, I understand. Look, I think it's one of those games where you're expected to lose. I know you've got a good, you're seen as their bogey team, but not predominantly at their ground, and certainly not playing open and expansive football. I just can't see a way you win. The only way, honestly, the only way would be a couple of early goals and City lose a man. That honestly is and Rodri goes off injured. Then I think you could do it. I just, with the way Wolves and the way Villa were able to cut through you at times, it took Villa until the second half. I just see Man City. I think this could be a big one. I think it could be 4 or 5 goals conceded. I think it could be a bit of a drumming, and probably would be that final cherry on top of the icing, on top of the cake of those Spurs fans who were coming for you and were coming for Kate, saying that you were disgraces, you weren't really Spurs fans, you were too negative. Where you all, I know you won't be happy if you get beat badly at the weekend, but it's what a lot of level-headed Spurs fans said when there was all this praise from the media, all of this, we're not Spursy anymore, we're in a title race, I think we can beat City home and away. It's one of those things for me where I don't feel sorry for Tottenham, but it's a case of like reality is hit really hard.
For some, Terry.
Yeah.
For some, and this is the thing. Like, I do find it funny. Like that, it's difficult. The Spurs fan base is, I suppose, like any fan base. We've got loads of people who are just super positive. It doesn't matter what happens; they're just positive, and they're seen as really good fans because they're positive. They say nice things. You get people who are very level-headed, and then you get people who are ultra negative. For me, I just think it's somewhere in the middle of all that. I've always said this year is about building, growing, implementing a philosophy. I said there's going to be loads of ups, which we've had this season already. There's going to be a lot of downs, which we're currently experiencing this season. And for me, I didn't think there was pressure on Postecoglou this year to have to go and achieve anything, right? I don't even know what that means, by the way, Terry, being a Spurs fan, as to what achieving something means in year one. But this is year one. He picked us up from a terrible place, right? An awful place. We had no style. The players weren't confident. The fans weren't enjoying it. He's picked us up. He's breathed a new bit of life into the club. The problem that I think has happened is that 10 games at the beginning of the season, that 10 games at the beginning of the season, I think has raised expectations so high within the Spurs fan base. But equally from rival fans, what they've done now is gone, okay, cool. You're now talking big. You're now saying you're going to win this. You're now talking about you're great and there's not Spurs anymore. That the first opportunity there is they're going to knock it down. This is why I don't get embroiled in either of those two things. I don't get embroiled in, oh my God, Spurs are terrible. This is awful. And I don't get embroiled with, we're brilliant. This is brilliant. We're the best team. Things are different. We're going to win a league. Postecoglou's the best. For me, I think this year's just got, people have got to let it ride out. We're going to lose games. We're going to win games. And I feel like everything, as I said to you so many times before, Terry, everything is about right now with so many football fans. For me, I'm not worried. Yeah, if we lose to City, we lose to City. We lose at City most years anyway. It's not a new thing, right? We lose games. Yeah. What's highlighted it? I'll ask you this. I'll ask everyone in your chat list as well. If you had said to me at the beginning of the season, Terry, after 14, this is hypothetical, right? Hypothetically, we lose at the weekend. That'll be 4 defeats, Terry, in 14 games, right? 4 and 14. If you had said to me before the season, Sav, after 14 games of football in the Premier League, you're going to have won 8, drawn 2, and lost 4, I'll bite your hand off.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know the difference now? It's because those 4 defeats are going to all be in a row. If they had been scattered out, if the start hadn't have been as good and it had been maybe win, lose, draw, win, lose, draw, lose. Yeah, I think everyone would have just kept their feet on the ground. Everything would have been calm. The problem is now there's no middle ground with Spurs. Fans, I can see it. Rival fans are enjoying going, you're not as good as you thought. You're this, you're that. And Spurs fans are doubling down, Terry. So the fans that were saying we're going to win a title, they're seen. This is what cracks me up about them. They're seen as being, they're really positive. There's a difference between being positive and realistic. So for me, everything is fine. We're going to lose games. But what we've got to make sure we do, Terry, is if we do lose to City, we've then got 2 home games, got to pick up some points. We've got West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, not easy games. But what we've got to make sure is that it doesn't get to 6 defeats. Right? It can't get to 6 defeats, 7 defeats. So
I understand that.
I feel like I'm level-headed with it.
But I think you have been, and this is why I've said it to a few of the Spurs guys, like, celebrate each win. But when some of them were going crazy about what you guys were going to do, I almost felt like saying, why allow the narrative around your club to get out of control? Bigging it up now means even if you, I'm not losing 4 on the bounce is always bad. I don't think there's ever a good time to lose 4 on the bounce. It doesn't read well. Sure. It feels bad. Sure. But it's going to be over-egged. It's going to be overplayed because of people like Harry, as an example. We're going to win the league, and we're going to brush City aside. You start saying those things, and then rivals and fans will hold you to account. The media didn't help, and I said this to Spurs fans. I weren't digging you guys out. I keep saying how well you've started. I think what a breath of fresh air Postecoglou is. He's got things to improve on, but he's been brilliant. He's been really, really, really good.
Yeah, for sure.
When I saw headlines talking about Spursy are fixed, comparing him to Sir Alex Ferguson, I said it on videos and was called bitter. I wasn't being bitter. I'm being realistic. You were being set up by the media for a mighty fall. And it's what they do. They build up to knock down. And anybody that doesn't think that's true, you only got to look at the rise and fall of teams. And sometimes we think the club's a media darling, then things start going wrong, and then they absolutely pull the rug from underneath their feet. And Spurs have had it in a very quick time here, and they lose again. And it rises up rival. And this is what Spurs fans don't see. Rivals like, how comes Postecoglou getting praised when he's losing? The media is setting again this Kardashian style drama. The media know it's going to wind up Chelsea. It's going to wind up West Ham. It's going to wind up Arsenal. We've got huge fan bases online and in reality when they see Spurs still being praised after losing 3 on the bounce. Spurs still maybe being praised after 4 on the bounce. And Spurs fans buy into it and go, yeah. And it's all about creating this drama and this banter and this huge rug to pull from underneath your feet if things go wrong. And I just think sometimes just push back against the media yourself and say that's nonsense. Like we were bad today, or like you've done. You're happy with Postecoglou, I know you are.
Yeah.
And people came for you because the mainstream argument was, "No, Spurs are just brilliant." That's all you can say. If you don't say they're brilliant, you're a hater, or you should pitch off down the road and be an Arsenal fan.
Do you know what? I think Spurs are going to have a good season this season, right? I think we're going to have a good season. By good season, I think we're going to get back into Europe, okay? And the beginning of this season, this is what I said, Terry, okay? Beginning of the season, said Spurs' aim should be to get back into Europe, right? We can talk about winning trophies. We can talk about winning. Okay, Spurs' aim this season should be to get back into Europe, let Postecoglou start getting rid of Deadwood, start bringing in some of his own players and start implementing a style of play. So that when you get to next summer, you've had a year, everyone knows how he plays, everyone knows what we are, and then he has another summer and another January window where you start getting rid of a few more of the Deadwood and bring in a few of the new ones. People have got to remember that we've gone from Conte with a group of players that have been stale for many, many, many years, playing an awful style of football, to a manager that's come in and gone, right, we haven't upped it a notch, Terry. It's not like we've gone from a team that played good football to a team that's playing brilliant football. We've gone from a team that played god-awful football to now trying to play. Now, don't get me wrong. Do I think that needs to be tweaked in game? Yes, I do. But it is exciting to watch. Now, the whole exciting to watch thing is only good for me for year one. And what I mean by that is, you can get away with games like Villa in year one because we're sorting this out. It's like what we saw. A lot of the players against Villa weren't his players. A lot of those players were not his players. They were players from previous. So that needs time to ship out. Equally, what fans, for me, fans can support a football club in any way they want. In any way they want, support a club. You support Man U how you want. I support Spurs how I want. Equally, I think if you actually ask fans deep down inside, does anyone think Spurs are brilliant yet? I don't think they do. I think they know there's a lot of work to be done. Are Spurs good enough to win titles? No. I think deep down we knew we weren't. But was it a brilliant start to the season? Yes. And these two things are what are being confused, Terry. What is a good start versus what is a good year? There's a huge difference for me. So, listen, I keep my feet on the ground. I think Spurs, I've said all season, finishing the top 4 will be an epic season, right? I think that'll be, give the guy a statue if he gets us top 4. But more likely it's going to be Europa League or Conference League. If we don't get one of those, it's not the end of the world, but there wouldn't have been any improvement from a league position from last year. But for the long term of the club, and I know this is where fans hate it, not Spurs fans, all football fans hate it, right? For the long-term good of Tottenham, my overriding feeling has always been, at last, we've got a manager that wants to implement something that can see us play like this for our future. Yes. That was more important to me this year than, are we 4th? Are we 3rd? Are we 5th? That is the overriding factor to me. So losing 3 or 4 games isn't the end of the world. I don't think people keep coming onto my show going, oh my God, you think it's a crisis? I don't think it's a crisis. I think a crisis is if you get to 7 games. If Spurs lose, sorry for ranting, if Spurs lose, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, and then Forest away, and you've lost 7 in a row, then you go, hang on, there's some massive problems here. I don't think that will happen. I think we will probably lose to City. And then I think between Forest, Newcastle, and West Ham, you've got to be looking at getting 4 to 6 points.
Yeah, you certainly do. It's a bit like with the Chelsea situation. Although they have to kind of stick with Poch, there's still an element of it. He can't keep losing games. He can't stay. Sure. He can't finish the season 10th or 11th because there's not enough progression there in terms of league position. You've got to get back into Europe of some sort as an example. So you're absolutely right. It's about balance here. I think what you said that I agree with completely is around creating something that is sustainable, not just for in terms of stylistic level of football, the style of football you want to play, not just for Big Ad, but beyond him. I've always said with Spurs, the biggest mistake Daniel Levy's ever made was when he left, when Poch was sacked, going to Jose's, to Nuno, to Conte, now back to Big Ad. It's almost like you've blacked out for 4 or 5 years, and you didn't continue in that kind of attacking mentality of football. And if you'd have done that, I think you may have won something. I don't think you'd have fallen off the way in which you kind of did. But viewers, let us know what you think. Let us know what you feel about what's been said here. Let's go to some of these comments here. Pray for my bastard, Terry. We are awful. Yeah, I knew you'd win yesterday, though. I did predict you'd win. It's the only one so far on the golden goals I've got right. Terry, you were guilty of it with the foul on Alisson. Ha. I wasn't being tribalistic with that. I didn't necessarily think it was a foul. What I said is, I told you VAR would become hypocrites when they said they couldn't give Joel Linton's on Gabriel because they didn't know how much force was in it. But yet they gave the little nudge on the goalkeeper. How they didn't know how much force is in it. I told you it would happen, and it happened within the first game. Big up, Terry. Man United managing to get results the hard way. They need to keep going and reset at January. Also, who would you say looks the best bet for the Champions League? First bit, yeah, I agree. There's talk of 4 players coming in January. One of them we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the show. We definitely need that reset. Who looks the best bet? Man City. Man City and Bayern Munich so far have been the best 2 teams and the most consistent teams that I've watched. But I haven't been able to watch everyone play because there's so many games going on. But then they're usual suspects, so there's nothing new there. VAR, who awarded PSG the controversial added time penalty in the Champions League, have been removed from duty by UEFA after the game. Support from Bosnia, Terry. Okay, so the VAR has been. I think the referee should be as well because he could have still rejected it. But I'm not surprised it's been removed because again, people have been trying to clutch at straws here, going, "Well, actually, my interpretation, I can see why it was given." No, it just isn't a penalty. We know the transfer. Wait on a minute here. This is a come on, Sava. When all of Arsenal and Liverpool are supporting Spurs, you say we will probably lose to City. Not cool, man, is what Ricky Proctor says.
Look, Ricky, I think the thing is, do I want to go to Man City and win? Of course I do. Do I think, having watched us play in the last 2 games against Villa and Wolves, Villa, Wolves, Chelsea, even before that, do I look at us and say we can go and beat the best team in the country at their ground where they've not lost a single game in 24 games this year? There's a difference. I think, Ricky, I hear these things all the time, and I think if I can just share a quick anecdote with you. I received a message in my YouTube this morning. You must obviously you must get millions, right? Like I get hundreds a morning. You must get so many, right? I woke up this morning to this message that said, not word for word, but it was literally around, it was to do with a debate I had yesterday with someone else. And he said, Sava, that person's right. You're negative. Your standards are so low. It's like your standards are so low. You need to set your expectations higher. It's why Spurs lose. And I always sit there and think to myself, what mentality makes somebody write something like that? And what I mean by that, Terry, is if I sit here as a fan and you say to me, oh, Spurs beating City. If I sit here, Terry, and go, you know what? We're winning 3-0. We're winning this game. You're going to straight away look at me and go, what are you smoking? Right? All your chat's going to have a go at me and go, what do you mean? Man City are much better than Spurs. But then you get people like this with not cool. It's not cool that you're saying we're probably going to lose to City. But realistically, take your Spurs hat off. Take your Spurs glasses off. Take off any glasses of anyone you support. If anyone is looking at Spurs and has them as favourites to beat Man City at the Etihad, then that is hope over reality. We hope to win, but it's not real. And I think that's why a lot of people hate that about me, that I don't just say Spurs are going to win every game. I've just given you just now what I thought was a very level-headed answer to Spurs are good, but we're not that good yet. We've got a lot of work to do. A lot's got to change. And still people in the chat again, Savvy, you're chatting shit. Savvy, you're wrong. I'm like, mate, what?
It's one of the arguments that me and Lee have a lot. And we seem to, I think Lee misses what I'm trying to say sometimes. Maybe because this isn't a dig at Lee. It's because very rarely will Lee say, I get where you're coming from. But I will predict or hold my club to a standard of where I think we're at, game by game, not where I want us to be. Where for some people, it's, well, I know we're only, let's just grade it. City number 1, relegation teams are number 10. I think my team's about 5. How are you demanding results of a 1 when you know you're only a 5? You should be demanding your club gets to a 1, but how, when you know you're a 5, can you demand those results week in, week out? It doesn't make, again, and some people have that mentality. Other people go the other way. They know they're a 5, but they think if I just say we're going to perform like a 1, we're going to deliver. And that doesn't make any sense either, because you willing it to happen is not going to change anything. Be realistic and be honest.
Do I want it to happen?
Yeah, but what happens is this. What rivals want is for you to give it the big one. So when it goes wrong, they can go, ha, you got it wrong. That's all it comes down to.
Well, do you know what I had yesterday, Terry? Sorry, this is quite funny. And by the way, when people say, like, they always say to me, don't worry about the chat and that. Listen, when I got into YouTube, Terry, I've said this to you before, I got into YouTube, I wanted to interact. I didn't ever want it to be a thing where I didn't interact. And I think it's a shame that so much of the interaction with the chat can't be more friendly. And I think it's a shame that people need to go down that route. But it's fine. It's cool. It is what it is. What I had yesterday was somebody came onto my show and said to me, Sava, this cracked me up, Terry, and I think this will probably make you laugh. Someone said to me, Sava, the only reason you're negative about Spurs, which I don't think I am, I think I'm quite level-headed. No, the only reason that you're negative about Spurs, the only reason that you slag off Spurs, which I don't, I'm just honest, and the only reason you go on to shows like Terry's Football Terrace, like the Big Six, like Saeed, like Lee Gunner, the only reason you do that is because you go over there to twerk for the opposition fan bases that love you because you don't love Spurs. And I cracked up and I said, Have you seen the shit I get in chats? Are you kidding me? You think I go onto the football terrace because I'm going to get love in the chat?
That would only make sense. That would only make sense if you towed the party line. If you towed the party line with their club, with their clubs as well, but you don't. So it's this thing of you're detrimental about Arsenal. You're detrimental about Man United. You're detrimental about other clubs. So I get it. Ricky actually comes back and says, "Sorry, I wasn't calling you toxic. I like your realism." And goes, "It was a joke, as we want you to take points off City, and you have a good record against them."
We do, yeah, Ricky. Listen, no, it's all cool. Listen, do you know what? We do have a good record against City. I think the problem is when we've had that good record against City, it's like what Terry alluded to earlier. It was more from a Conte sit back, be awful to watch, counter them. It's not, let's try and play through them and let City pick us off at will. That's the worry.
It's going to be very, very intriguing indeed to see how it goes. Viewers, hit like buttons and make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace if you've not done so already, and turn bell notifications on. A big story that is trending today is that Arsenal and Liverpool have started to explore the financial and sporting parameters involving the signing of Kylian Mbappé as a free agent in the summer. It goes on to say the French striker has been admired by Jurgen Klopp's side for several years. And DuncanCastles goes on to speak about how both Arsenal and Liverpool are making serious inroads into this. And it's a very interesting deal from a financial standpoint, because although it sounds like a lot of money in the outset, there's a lot of money to offset against it, because Kylian Mbappé will generate for a football club a monumental amount of money coming in. That's why his image rights are so expensive. DuncanCastles is an interesting journalist, because what I love about DuncanCastles is he never tries to gain. He doesn't spread lies, but he doesn't care if a story doesn't pan out. He'll say, this is what I've heard, or this is what I've been told. Where some of the sort of more transfer specific journalists, they're like, well, I've been told this, but I'm not going to mention it, because if it doesn't pan out that way, it will go down as a one I got wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And when you actually speak to journalists, and I've spoke to many, I've actually had conversations about who internally, who in your industry actually looked at as an amazing journalist. And every single one of them has said DuncanCastles is like almost the go-to guy by 95% of other journalists if they want to get clarity on a story, they want to run something by him. So it's an interesting one that they're looking at him. How good would it be to see Mbappe in the Premier League with Haaland already here, in your opinion?
Oh, I mean, look, we'll go to the realism to this in a minute, but for that question, it would be amazing. Yeah, you'd then have Haaland and Mbappe that I suppose, I don't know this for sure, can be nowhere near them in ability-wise, by the way. Nowhere near them, but the new Messi v Ronaldo, like what they had at Barca and Real Madrid.
Yeah.
It would be amazing to see. I don't see him at either of those two football clubs. That's you know what we said just now about other fan bases liking me. This is going to be one of them moments where I single-handedly piss off Liverpool. I think he's bigger than both of those two clubs. What I mean by that is I'm not saying they're not massive clubs, because they are, and they're bigger than my club. But I can't see why would he leave on a free and not end up at Real Madrid. That for me is what I don't know. I can't see why he would go to Arsenal or Liverpool over Real Madrid, who will definitely try and get him on a free, right?
Well, he's going to be free this summer. Yes, he'll be on a free. Right. But then free transfers are not really free transfers, because the level of signing on fee you end up paying the player. It's For people that perpetuate net spend, it's free. But for everyone that lives in the real world of football finance, there's no such thing as a free lunch. But I hear you. Look, listen, I get where you're coming from. The one thing though about this story that winds me up is the Premier League has more money than anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I understand, and I do understand, listen, the prestige and the allure of that all-white kit of Real Madrid is beyond special. It is beyond special. The Champions Leagues, the history, the heritage, the fame of that football club is, in my personal opinion, the only club when it comes to the heritage and the history of it, which I think is as prestigious or close, not as, it's a lie, close to their prestige is Man United, but we are not performing at a level that reflects the heritage and the history of our football club. But I look at Liverpool and think to myself, that is a juggernaut Liverpool are a club where they have ridiculous levels of history, huge pedigree in the Champions League, one of the best teams in the Premier League right now. They could be losing Mo Salah in the summer.
Yeah.
And Mo Salah could be on his way to Saudi. And for me, and I'll go into Arsenal in a minute, but Liverpool, in my personal opinion, if they are not bending over backwards to try to sign Mbappe, they should not be scared of being rejected. They should not be scared of losing out. I think they've got to try and do this. And I think with the Premier League's income, the money they would receive from selling Salah, the salary they save from moving him on, and the income the Premier League clubs generate, the additional money he would make, they should be making him a world record offer for a Premier League team. They should be making him an offer that is almost impossible to refuse. Because if Liverpool were to do that, it would be a game changer, not just for the Premier League as a whole, but for them.
Sure.
Suddenly, like if Mbappe joined Liverpool now, today, this moment, suddenly their title credentials go up 1,000,000% because he's that goddamn good at scoring goals. And I look at it, and they should be. When it comes to Arsenal, again, people will laugh and go, no chance, no chance. And I understand it. I think their chances are slim. Their chances are slim. But you've got to try. You've this notion of, I remember in the summer when they're talking about him being available, and we had Ben Jacobs on, said a lot of clubs won't try because they just don't want to be rejected. That makes sense to me. It's like if you're a single man and you're out in a bar and there she is, and depends on what woman you dream. It could be Beyonce, it could be Billie Eilish, it could be Megan Fox, it could, I don't know, for some people it could be Nora Batty. I don't know, it depends on your age and your demographic. But if you know Nora Batty, if you know who Nora Batty is.
I wasn't expecting that to come out your mouth. Okay, all right.
There might be some people in their 70s and 80s watching. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, why not? Go on, Nora.
You've got to give your chance a go. You've got to give your chance a go. If you're not in it, you can't win it. And I do think the Premier League clubs have a chance. I think the Premier League is that strong of a league. I believe the clubs are big enough, but I think they've got to believe in themselves. If they do this whole
clubs,
no clubs. I think they are clubs.
Plural.
Clubs. Yeah, I think in the Premier League, I think Liverpool, I think Arsenal, I think City, I think Chelsea, I think Man United are big enough. Are Chelsea and Man United in a position to sign him, status-wise, what we're challenging for? No. But I think we are. I think the problem that we have sometimes is we have this inferiority complex when it comes to Madrid and Barcelona. And that's where all the top foreign players go. Because typically the top English players stay in England. All the top players want to go there. Why have that defeatist attitude? Go for it. Take your shot. You might miss out, but you should go for it. In my personal opinion.
I don't doubt that some of them should go for him. I've not doubted that. I just think the moment Real Madrid put their cards on the table, it's that football heritage. Just to be really cheesy and drop that in, it is. It's Real Madrid have been after this guy for how many years? Real Madrid always have a Galactico. Real Madrid need a goal scorer. Listen, if any of those teams get him, fair play to them, is what I'd say. I can't see past Real Madrid. It's that lure of Real Madrid's history. It's that lure of a Galactico. It's that lure of the Bernabeu. And I think he didn't take the chance to join them the first time. I think he will this time. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Listen, I'll tell you what. Listen, if Arsenal or Liverpool got Mbappe, damn, I'm worried. Obviously, you're worried. I just expect it to be Real Madrid. I think most people would probably go, yeah, it's probably going to be Real Madrid.
No, and I understand, and I do understand that. Twisted with a weird comment says, Terry, don't be deluded. Mbappe won't join United for historical reasons. I quite literally said he wouldn't. You freak, you absolute freak. Shows how desperate some people are to catch you out. They actually don't listen to what you say. But no, I totally understand that. But I just think Mbappe, you stick him in that Arsenal team. They close the gap on. They're not far behind City now. They're not as good as City. Not far behind them, but he bridges that gap, and that's why I think you've got to go for it because Man City have a player. Again, Haaland has got different strengths to Mbappe, but
very different players. Yeah,
very different players. But essentially, what Mbappe is scoring goals. Like he's not renowned for being this overly creative, brilliant passer, controller of the tempo. He uses speed, he uses his skill, and he scores lots of goals. Haaland uses speed, power, and scores lots of goals. They do it in different ways, but they're essentially the end result is the same player. They score lots of goals, and Man City have one, and this is why I think, when you're Liverpool, when you're Arsenal, whoever's trying to compete with City, you have to look at it and go, well, and that would be the selling point. And that is how I think you can, that is for me, a way of convincing.
Yeah. The plan is you go, whoever it is, goes to Mbappe's agent, goes to Mbappe and says, we are building a team around you. You are going to be the guy that wrestles back the title from Man City or whoever wins it this year. You are our guy. We are going to build around you. Everything's going to be about you. You're our main man. Come and join. Take us to the glory we need. That's fine. I would fear any team in the world that gets Mbappe. I mean, you think if Madrid get Mbappe and then they've got Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., Bellingham, and Rodrigo as a front three. I mean, obviously they can change it up, right? Scary. What if Man City go in and get? I don't think that's the type of player. I genuinely don't think that's the type of player that Pep will go and get. If I'm honest, I don't think he will. But
no,
I think City could. Real Madrid could. I don't know who else could. If I'm brutally honest, I don't know who else is in that position at the moment.
Well, we don't need
enough to get him.
Yeah, we don't need him. We've got Rashford. We're fine. So we don't need him. Do you know what I mean? And there we go.
Terry Flewers. Rashford's better than Mbappe. There you go. There's tomorrow's line.
Yeah, I know. But listen, that's how I would sell that. How I would sell it. Listen, one thing I'd say about Mbappe is this: I think he has an ego. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think players like him need an ego.
Yeah, sure.
And I'd be saying, look, Bellingham's a star. Vinicius is probably ahead of you. You go Arsenal or you go Liverpool. You are the star. And that is what I'd sell him.
Is Vinicius above him? If he goes to Real Madrid, he's the main man, isn't he?
But then again, maybe not. But Bellingham right now, who's going to, in terms of the way, there's always a player in teams like that where the play is done in a certain way. And when Ronaldo was there, it was a start. And the play and the way the team operated, it was to elevate him to his best because he was the best player. Messi at Barcelona, everything, other players were involved, of course, but it was done in a way where, Messi wasn't the guy that was like, you're going to play out wide on the left and ensure that we're creating the chances for Henry. It was the other way around, right? That's what's going to be interesting, the dynamic at Real Madrid. And it's interesting with Madrid because it's like they're building another Galacticos and they're doing it a little different. They're buying these Galacticos before they're Galacticos when they're young. But that didn't work either because that's the one thing I'd say that could go wrong with their plan is there is an arrogance that comes with Galactico-style players in terms of they all want to be the star. But you can't in a team. Some people have to take a back seat. And it's the element of, well, you've got so many class players there. Who is going to be the star? Who are they going to build around? Could they end up with too many cooks spoil the broth? And that would be how
true, but I don't think they've got that at the moment. I don't think they've got that.
Okay.
I think since they've lost Benzema, Bellingham's picked up good old Roms. Bellingham's picked up some slack and scored goals. I think they're lacking one player. I think they're lacking someone. And when you look, when all is said and done, don't we all know he's going to Real Madrid? If he's on a free transfer, I'll ask you a question.
Yeah, go on.
Matt, I'll ask you a question. He's a free transfer, right? Mbappe's agent turns around to Mbappe and says, right, we've got 5 offers on the table for you here. We've got Real Madrid, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United. Do we truly believe that he bypasses the first 2 to go to the second 3? Truly.
No, and that's why it's harder. The smaller you get as a club, the harder it is to pull off. But at the same time, what I would be, again, I'm just playing devil's advocate here and going at it from an angle of what you could do to convince him. Real Madrid are the front runners. There's absolutely no doubt about it, but they should be in. Let's go to some of these super chats here. Isn't he going to Madrid already because they need a striker and will splash the cash? Well, it isn't guaranteed, Tony, but he's favourite to go there. I'd bend over forwards if United could get Mbappe. Yeah, I mean, most people would. Why are people always saying Spurs have a good record against City, but ignore City also have a good record against Spurs? Fair point, especially at home anyway. Real Madrid have Vinicius. He's just as good as Mbappe. Do you think Vinicius? Who do you think's better, Vinicius or Mbappe?
It's not a question, is it? Let's be brutally honest. Mbappe has gone to different levels. Look, I think what I would give Vinicius Junior is, for me, he's doing it in a better league. But for what we've seen, Mbappe, and by the way, I am someone who very much thinks that Mbappe needs to leave France and go to a big league. But Mbappe's special. He's different. He's built different. You get 4 or 5 of those in a 10-year period that are built different, Terry. And you had Ronaldo, Messi. Now you've got Haaland's different. Mbappe's different. Not many others. So I think, look, he's not going to be short of offers. And I'm guessing wherever he goes, he's going to get a lovely, lovely weekly salary. So I'm sure he's
loving it either way. No, I agree.
He's loving it either way.
We all know Madrid are a commercial club. They are all already building the brand around Jude and Louis Vuitton. Is that Vuitton, does it say? And all that. Also, they have Enric. Yeah, listen, they are most likely to land him, but the English clubs, in my opinion, have got to try. Man United are also linked with an interesting January. There's a big report that United are going to look to up to 4 players with the partial takeover coming through. And one of the names that's being linked to us, and I don't know how much you know about him, is Joao Neves. Really talented midfield player. Currently at, I want to say Benfica. I don't know why my brain just went numb like he isn't. Is this the kind of player you think Man United should be investing in moving forward with this sort of takeover pending?
I've only seen little bits of him. I really wouldn't want to sit here and say, oh my God, he's brilliant and he'll do this and do that. Looks talented. For me, this is the path I think Man United need to go down, though. I think you need to actually build a structure. And if you're going to bring in a player like that, make sure the other players around him are like that as well and build a team. I don't know enough of him to say, yeah, he's absolutely sensational. United should definitely get him. I know that he's a young man and you've always got to be a bit wary when they're young. You've always got to be a bit wary because sometimes they need time to settle in, different country. But from what I've seen of him, the little bits, he looks good. He looks good. And United need good footballers. I think you need some exuberance. You need those good, young, technical footballers, and he certainly is one of those. So, yeah, I mean, it's just definitely a story to keep an eye on.
It's an interesting one because we saw young Kobe play against Everton and look so comfortable in the Premier League in his debut. And there's a long way for him to go and a lot of development for the young man.
Yeah.
But we need more players of that ilk who are technical. The one thing our midfielders lacked for over a decade is technical ability. We have been bereft of it. And we have it like Bruno Fernandes is an attacking midfielder and he's a chief creator and he's great at that. And I look at, we spoke earlier about you build a team around certain people. I think what you've got to do to get the best out of Bruno, I mean, if you find someone better than Bruno who can create as much as him and is technically better, go and buy him. But if Bruno's in your team, what you need around him is midfielders who are technically proficient and very, very press resistant and good at winning the ball back. And you add that in and it changes the dynamic of Manchester United. And it's so key for us to do that. And I look at a player like Joao Neves. I look at young Kobe and go, right, they're your youth. Then what you need to probably go and add is a more established top quality player into that mix as well. You add those 3 in with a sprinkling of what we've already got, and suddenly you have a strong midfield and a midfield with variety that's needed. I don't buy into this weird notion that some Man United fans do of you just got to go out and try and buy the best players available. When Camavinga went to Real Madrid, when Tchouaméni went to Real Madrid, they weren't the best midfielders of their type in the world. There was the potential for them to become the best. Sometimes you buy someone who's at that level straight away. Other times you buy that potential. I think you have to get that balance. Otherwise, you're buying lots of players at 26 and 27, and every 3 years you've got to spend that same level of money again. And there isn't the sell-on value. Therefore, it's harder to maintain it because most clubs have to sell to be able to buy. This notion that only a few do it is a nonsense. City are one of the richest clubs in the world. but they still have to sell hundreds of millions of pounds worth of players to be able to keep buying people. So you have to develop. So you have to get that balance right. And I like this kid. He looks very, very special indeed. And our midfield needs not just an overhaul, it needs a technical overhaul. And I think he's very, very good.
Yeah, look, I think it all depends. A lot of what you said there is so true. It all depends on what is the style of play you want to play moving forward. If he is that type of player, then get him in, because it's very difficult to go and buy the best players in that position if you're not a top club that's winning things every year at the moment. Yeah. You know, like Real Madrid can go out and buy those top players. They've got their Real Madrid, right? I think where Man United are, I think you need to build and grow. And I don't think just elevating in older players works. I think you need to build and grow. I think you need a system. You need a tactic. So I think that sort of signing would be good. But again, I think a lot of it as well is about the pressure that is applied by the fans. If you bring in someone of that age, don't expect miracles from them in year one. And that's what we're very bad at as football fans, is breaking down footballers when they've had 10, 12 games in a new team and just writing them off. So if he does join, then, you know, just let the kid learn and grow, and remember, he's still a teenager.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you have to get that right. 100 million, get your wallets out. So, Jim, look, there's talk about a really sort of good mix of players potentially coming in the January. My camera keeps bugging out. I don't really know why.
Yeah, that's okay.
And we'll see. Like, there's some that I'm so excited about. There's some others I'm not. There's talk of Timo Werner being on the list and whatever else. And I'm not too sure why in any way, shape or form we're looking at a player like him. But we will see what happens with that. But yes, Mainu is a baller. Look, I want to say a big thank you to everybody that has tuned into the show today. Please hit the like button before you leave. Please make sure you are subscribing as well. We're live after, if it goes ahead. And currently, Manchester Evening News have just said that Man United are proceeding as planned with the fixture. So it looks like it's going ahead for now. It's only an hour till kickoff anyway. But we're live after that game, and we're live after Arsenal versus Lens as well. So please make sure you were tuning in. Always a pleasure to speak football with you, Sav. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.